The fire that erupted at Wangfuk Court in Tai Po on the 26th of November 2025 has become one of the most shocking and heartbreaking disasters in Hong Kong's modern history. What began as a routine afternoon in a densely populated public housing complex turned into a devastating inferno in a matter of minutes. The blaze is believed to have started on bamboo scaffolding and plastic construction mesh, materials commonly used in Hong Kong's renovation projects. These materials, while traditional and flexible, are also extremely flammable. Once the fire caught on the exterior covering, it spread with terrifying speed, climbing vertically up the towers and leaping horizontally from one block to another. Residents who were home at the time had almost no warning, and many found their escape routes blocked by thick smoke, collapsing debris, or intense heat. The human toll is staggering. At least 44 people lost their lives, making it the deadliest fire Hong Kong has faced in decades. One firefighter also lost his life while attempting to save residents trapped inside. As authorities combed through the charred remains of the buildings, hundreds of people remained unaccounted for, raising fears that the final death count could rise significantly. More than 900 residents were forced to flee, leaving behind everything they owned as they escaped to temporary shelters set up in community centers and nearby facilities. Witness accounts described scenes of chaos, families shouting for missing members, elderly residents unable to evacuate, and windows glowing orange as flames consumed entire floors. Rescue teams worked relentlessly, but they were met with overwhelming obstacles: extreme heat, collapsing scaffolding, falling glass, blocked stairways, and dangerous smoke conditions that complicated their efforts. This tragedy has triggered a wave of anger and sorrow across Hong Kong as attention turns to the factors that allowed such a disaster to unfold. The bamboo scaffolding and protective netting used during renovation are now at the center of scrutiny. For decades, these materials have been part of the city's architectural identity, but their role in accelerating the fire has raised urgent questions about safety standards, oversight, and whether modernization has fallen behind the risks of high-rise living. Authorities quickly arrested 3 men connected to the renovation project, 2 company directors and a consultant, on suspicion of manslaughter. The arrests highlight growing suspicion that negligence or improper materials may have played a role, and the city has launched a full investigation to determine accountability. Officials are examining whether fire-resistant alternatives were overlooked, whether regulatory checks were followed, and how such a massive fire could occur in a residential complex designed to house thousands. As the city mourns, the disaster serves as both a wake-up call and a moment of collective grief. Families have lost loved ones, entire homes have been reduced to ashes, and a once ordinary housing complex has become a symbol of systemic failure. The Taipo Tower tragedy will likely shape Hong Kong's policies and public consciousness for years to come. But for now, the focus remains on the victims, the lives lost, the survivors displaced, and the hope that lessons learned from this catastrophe will prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. But this isn't the only shocking high-rise disaster the world has seen. Before we dive into the next stories, from London to Busan, Dubai to Manila, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss any of the incredible, shocking, and mysterious stories we share on this channel from around the world. The Grenfell Tower fire. In the quiet early hours of the 14th of June 2017, a small kitchen fire in a 4th-floor apartment of Grenfell Tower became the spark that ignited one of the most tragic and avoidable disasters in the United Kingdom's recent history. What should have been a routine household fire spiraled into a towering inferno in minutes. The flames found fuel in the building's exterior cladding, aluminum composite panels later proven to be highly flammable. Once ignited, the cladding acted like a vertical fuse, pulling fire up the entire height of the 24-story structure at terrifying speed. Residents who were asleep woke to thick, toxic smoke flooding the hallways, stairwells, and even their own flats. Inside, chaos and desperation unfolded. Many residents dialed emergency services repeatedly, trapped in their apartments with no safe escape. Some waved flashlights or cloths from their windows, hoping rescuers would see them. Others tried to flee, only to be overwhelmed by the black smoke filling the single narrow staircase, the only exit for more than 200 people. Fire alarms did not sound in time, and the building's "stay put" policy which advised residents to remain inside in the event of a fire, quickly became a deadly trap. For hours, London watched in shock as flames wrapped around the entire building, turning it into a pillar of fire against the night sky. By sunrise, Grenfell Tower stood as a charred, hollow frame, a haunting reminder of the night's horror. 72 people lost their lives, including children, entire families, and elderly residents who had no chance of escape. Dozens more were injured, and hundreds were displaced, losing their homes, belongings, and loved ones in a single catastrophic event. The tragedy shook the nation to its core and raised urgent questions about urban safety, inequality, and accountability. Investigations revealed what many survivors already suspected. The disaster was not just an accident. It was a failure of systems meant to protect people. The cladding used in the tower's refurbishment was combustible, inadequately tested, and chosen partly because it was cheaper. Fire safety warnings from residents had been ignored for years. To this day, the Grenfell fire remains a painful chapter in British history, a tragedy that exposed deep flaws in housing standards and the devastating consequences of neglect. The Wooshin Golden Suites fire. On a windy afternoon in October 2010, the Wooshin Golden Suites building in Busan became the scene of one of the most visually shocking high-rise fires ever caught on camera. It all began with a seemingly routine renovation task. Construction workers using an acetylene torch accidentally ignited insulation material on the outer wall of the 38-story residential tower. What should have been a small, controllable spark instantly transformed into a vertical explosion of flames. The fire found the perfect fuel: decorative exterior panels made of highly combustible material, installed widely across South Korea during the early 2000s, push for modern, stylish high-rises. Once ignited, the panels acted like a chimney lined with gasoline. Flames shot upward at frightening speed, racing from the lower floors to the rooftop in a matter of minutes. Witnesses watched in disbelief as the fire climbed the entire facade almost instantaneously, a spectacle so dramatic that videos quickly went viral around the world, shocking viewers with the sheer intensity and spread of the blaze. Inside the building, panic erupted. Residents saw walls outside their windows turn into swirling sheets of fire. Wind blowing off the nearby coast fanned the flames further, sending burning debris falling onto the streets below. Firefighters rushed to contain the inferno, battling extreme heat and dangerous updrafts. Miraculously, despite the terrifying visuals and scale of the blaze, only a few people suffered injuries, thanks largely to quick evacuations and the fact that the fire spread primarily along the exterior rather than deep into the interior. The Dubai Torch Tower fires. Standing 86 floors tall and towering over the glittering skyline of Dubai Marina, the Torch Tower was once a symbol of ultra-modern, luxurious high-rise living. But in 2015 and again in 2017, the building became the center of global attention for a very different reason. It caught fire twice, in almost the same catastrophic way. These two incidents revealed a dangerous truth about modern skyscraper construction: even the most expensive towers can hide deadly vulnerabilities. The first blaze erupted in February 2015, late at night when most residents were asleep. A small fire on one of the higher floors quickly found its way to the building's exterior cladding, aluminum composite panels filled with flammable core material. Within minutes, the entire side of the skyscraper was engulfed. Flames raced upward like a blowtorch, peeling off panels that fell to the ground in showers of burning debris. Streets around the marina were covered in drifting sparks and flaming fragments, lighting up the night sky in scenes that looked almost apocalyptic. Miraculously, despite the scale of the blaze, no deaths were reported. Hundreds of residents evacuated down smoke-filled stairwells as firefighters battled to control the inferno. The building was scarred but structurally intact, and after months of repairs, residents eventually returned, believing the danger had passed. But shockingly, the Torch Tower burned again just 2 years later. In August 2017, another fire broke out and once again raced up the exterior cladding in a nearly identical pattern. Videos showed the same horrifying sight: walls of flame climbing dozens of floors, burning pieces of the facade tumbling like fiery confetti onto the ground below. The fact that a luxury skyscraper, supposedly up to the highest engineering standards, could burst into flames twice, exposed an uncomfortable truth. Flammable cladding was not a problem limited to older or poorly maintained buildings. It had been installed on some of the world's most prestigious towers. Both fires became global warnings about a hidden danger lurking across modern skylines. The Marina Bay Sands Hotel Fire, Singapore, 2024. Perched atop 3 soaring towers, the Sky Park of Marina Bay Sands is one of the most recognizable architectural landmarks in the world, a massive steel and concrete ship suspended in the sky. But in 2024, that stunning rooftop nearly became the site of a disaster that could have changed Singapore's skyline forever. The fire began during routine maintenance work beneath the observation deck, where workers were repairing electrical components connected to the lighting system. A sudden spark ignited materials hidden below the platform, and within moments, flames began spreading through a cavity that was never meant to burn. At over 650 feet in the air, the winds were far stronger than at ground level. Those gusts acted like fuel, whipping the fire into an intense blaze and pushing thick smoke across the sky park. As tourists scrambled to safety, the iconic infinity pool, normally a peaceful viewing point, was plunged into chaos. Thousands of guests staying in the hotel's towers were evacuated as firefighters rushed elevators and stairwells to reach the rooftop. Videos posted online showed smoke billowing from one of Asia's most famous structures, shocking viewers worldwide. Fortunately, Singapore's firefighting teams managed to contain the blaze quickly, preventing it from spreading into the hotel towers themselves. Only a few people suffered minor injuries, and the structure remained intact. But the incident sent ripples across the region. It raised a chilling question. How do you fight a fire on top of a superstructure suspended hundreds of feet in the air? And how vulnerable are these modern architectural wonders to accidents that start in unexpected places? The Brazil Torre Geminis fire, São Paulo, 2018. In 2018, São Paulo witnessed one of the most devastating urban tragedies in its recent history. Torre Geminis, a 26-story abandoned residential building in the heart of the city, had long been illegally occupied by dozens of low-income families seeking shelter. What should have been a quiet evening turned catastrophic when a fire broke out inside the building, likely sparked by faulty wiring or improvised cooking equipment. The fire spread rapidly through the decaying structure, consuming floors already weakened by years of neglect. Thick black smoke poured out of shattered windows as residents tried desperately to escape. Some leapt from upper floors to avoid the flames, while others were trapped inside. Within moments, the building collapsed almost entirely, reducing what had been a crowded home for families into rubble. The sudden collapse left dozens dead or missing, with rescue teams struggling to recover victims from the twisted remains. The disaster exposed the harsh realities of São Paulo's housing crisis. Thousands of residents live in unsafe, abandoned, or illegally modified buildings, often without permits, fire exits, or structural safety measures. Torre Geminis became a tragic symbol of the systemic neglect that leaves vulnerable populations at the mercy of dangerous living conditions. That's all for today. These high-rise fires from Hong Kong to Manila show just how quickly disaster can strike and why safety can never be taken for granted. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more shocking stories from around the world.